Hello, my name is Jillian Conway, and I'm part of the psychology team here at the Carewest Operational Stress Injury Clinic, and I'd like to welcome you to the COVID Wellness Support Program. In addition to welcoming you here today, I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to talk about some of the processes of this program. I'm going to talk about our optional drop-in support skills group, as well as introduce the mental health continuum model. So, in terms of some of the processes of this group, we will be making use of psychometrics throughout the program. And essentially what these are just different questionnaires that are going to help you gain better insight into your own mental wellness, as well as provide a gauge in terms of your own mental health and any changes you may see throughout this program. The program is going to offer you 8 pre-recorded sessions that cover a variety of mental health topics and teach you some valuable skills on how to cope better maybe during these times of elevated stress. So without further ado, let's get into the mental health continuum model. So the mental health continuum model does a really lovely job of showcasing the fact that mental health isn't either good or bad. Rather, it exists on a spectrum. And so while we generally strive to be in that nice healthy range, starting here on the left in that green, where we see that good mental health, where we're able to function well in our day-to-day lives, it can vary over time. And I really want to stress that this is very normal, right? Things come up in our lives, we need to react to things from time to time, and that's okay. It's important to note, though, what that starting of that reacting period might look like for you so that we're able to implement some changes and some coping strategies so that we're able to swing back into that healthy realm. So the point of going through this model is to help you gain some better insights in terms of what these different stages might look like for you so that you're able to flag it for yourself and take further action. So the reacting stage that we see next to healthy, if we start to slide into that realm, this is maybe where things start to feel just a little bit off. You're not quite yourself. I like to think of this as maybe you've had a really hard day at work. You're maybe a bit frustrated or irritated towards the end of the day, right? That's totally normal. We all have those days. But the nice thing is, typically with your own, self-care, you're able to look after yourself that evening. We're able to swing back into that healthy realm. However, if we keep going the other direction on this continuum, this is where we start to see some of those bigger, kind of more prolonged symptoms showing up, right? So it's not just that you're a little bit off, there's something that starts to feel really, really wrong, right? Or maybe not ourselves anymore. We're starting to feel like something is off on a daily basis. And if that keeps going, this is where we start to see illness. So this is where we're seeing severe functional daily impacts in our lives. And this is where we'll see things like a mental health diagnosis and where we're going to want to start pursuing further treatment. But this breaks down into different variations in mood, thinking patterns, attitudes, behaviors, and even physical changes that can give you a different sign of maybe where you're currently falling in this continuum. So let's explore that a little bit more to gain some more insight on where you might currently be. So taking a look at mood, if we're in that green, that healthy realm, right, we're able to kind of function as life throws different things at us. We're pretty calm and confident. We're able to function as different things come up. Now, again, it's of course normal to have different fluctuations in this. We're not meant to be happy all of the time. But as we have some ups and downs, we're generally hanging around the same equilibrium. But if we start to kind of scooch into that reacting realm, right, that feeling that just something's a little bit off, maybe we're a bit irritable or more impatient, you get home from work and maybe, you're not quite as patient with the kids or the dog or maybe the spouse, right? We have a little bit of more limited ability to kind of cope with what life's throwing at us at that point in time. And again, though, usually maybe with a good night's sleep, we're able to go back into that healthy realm. But as we keep moving along the spectrum, essentially we start to see kind of a magnification of these concerns. So instead of being just irritable, maybe we're more anxious, right? So it's hanging around a little bit longer. Maybe we're angry or we're more sad, right? It's not something that's kind of going away. It's starting to stick around. And if we keep progressing into that illness realm, this is where we'll start to see, again, kind of a continued exaggeration. So we're not just angry, but it's, maybe people are walking on eggshells around us because it doesn't take much to just push us right over that edge. Or instead of a bit of anxiety, maybe we're experiencing panic, right? It's getting a lot bigger inside of us at this point. And on the other end, maybe we're experiencing depression, right? That heavy weight, and it's not going away. We're dealing with this all the time. And so again, take a note as we're going through this of maybe how your mood is affecting you right now and where you might be on this continuum. We're going to continue on with some thoughts to, again, kind of showcase maybe where you are. So if we're in that healthy realm, we're able to handle what life's throwing at us, we're doing okay, right? If you picture somebody that's healthy and able to just kind of cope with life, we've got generally a good sense of humor, we're able to kind of take things as stride as they come up for us, and we're able to concentrate on the things that are important to us, whether it's work or our family life, right? We're kind of on top of things. And if we start to slide into that reacting realm, right, where things are just maybe a bit off, we're not quite ourselves, right? Maybe, that good sense of humor turns into a sarcastic comment, right? We're a little bit irritable, like we just talked about in the mood. So we get home from work, somebody's bothering us, we make an offhand comment, okay? Something like that. Maybe we're start to having some more worry thoughts, right? They're popping into our head. We're maybe thinking about more things that we don't normally pay as much attention to, and it might start to be a little bit difficult to kind of get that thought to leave us alone. And maybe at work, we're experiencing more difficulties concentrating, right? It can be hard if we have some of these worries going on in our head to pay attention to the things that we need to. So we're starting to see kind of just a little bit off, right? And again, maybe we're able to go home, we're able to have a good dinner, a good rest, and we're feeling better the next day. And if that's the case, wonderful. But if we keep moving towards the other side, again, we start to kind of see this magnification or a growth of some of these concerns. So that offhand one comment turns into more of just kind of a negative attitude, right? We're seeing kind of this perpetual negative attitude that's not really wanting to engage in things, right? Maybe some of those thoughts that we talked about, those intrusive thoughts that might be coming in, maybe they're around a lot more, right? It's not just a one-off. They're sticking around, they're sticking with us. And maybe there's some images now that are coming to mind with them, right? Maybe we're remembering some things and they're hard to get out of our mind. And this is where we'll see a lot more difficulty, understandably, with things like concentration at work, right? If we're constantly feeling these intrusive thoughts and we have, our attitude's really poor at this point in time, it's hard to take part in some of these regular work activities or other life activities as well. And again, if we continue to move on into the illness realm here, right, this is where we're going to start seeing that persistent and severe impacts on our daily living. This is where we're going to start seeing things like non-compliance, right? We don't really care about the rules anymore. We don't really care about what we're supposed to be doing, right? That feeling of just, we don't want to do it anymore, right? Maybe we're starting to get some suicidal ideation along with that, right? And those thoughts can be really hard to get rid of. And especially, right, if we get to that realm and we're experiencing all of this, and if you remember from the mood, right, we might be really panicked or angry or anxious at this point in time or depressed. At this point, right, if you put that all together, it's understandably incredibly, if not almost impossible, to concentrate on the things that you need to in your daily life, whether it's at work or at home or in your social or family lives. So we start to see this inability to really take part in life at this point in time. Okay, so again, take a note of where you might be falling in terms of your thinking patterns. We're going to chat about some behavior that might show up for you as well. So again, if we go all the way back to the green side, we're in that nice, healthy realm over here. We're able to handle life as it comes up for us, right? Generally, people who are in this realm, they're pretty active, right? They're able to get out of their house, they're able to socialize, maybe they're, physically active, getting to the gym, right? They're performing well at work, things are going reasonably okay. It's not to say that work's not hard, but we're able to keep up with the work demands that we have. And we don't tend to see a lot of gambling or alcohol or drug concerns at this point in time. The odd social thing here and there, totally fine. But we're not seeing any concerns that are coming out of it. If we start to move into that, we're just a little bit off section, right? That reacting period. This is maybe where we'll see, maybe we don't want to go out with the friends tonight, right? We've had a rough day at work. We maybe just need some time by ourselves to recuperate. Yeah, so we're going to just take an evening. Maybe at work we start procrastinating a little bit, right? We're still getting things done, but we're maybe not as on the ball as we maybe normally are. And this is where we might start seeing a little bit more of that alcohol or gambling or drug use, right? It's not uncommon if people have a tough day to maybe reach for a glass of wine, okay? So we maybe start seeing a little bit more of these behaviors, but again, they're meant to be temporary and we're able to just kind of scooch back into the healthy realm over here. However, if we keep progressing into the injured realm, this is where we'll start seeing more of that magnification, and we'll start seeing things like avoidance. So it's not just, we're not going to do the social gathering this evening. We're really starting to pull back. Maybe we're not seeing our friends and family as much anymore. We're pulling out maybe some of those extracurriculars, or we're not really going to the gym as much anymore, right? In terms of work, maybe we're starting to show up a little bit late, starting to get a little bit tricky to get out of bed in the morning. So we're showing up a little bit later. Again, if we're not able to concentrate like we talked about already at work, maybe our performance is decreasing, right? You can actually see that happening within your workplace. And things like that, alcohol or gambling, it's starting to get difficult to control. We're using it more of a crutch now, right? It's kind of becoming more of a regular part of your life. And if we continue on into this illness realm, this is again where we start to see these behaviors showing up in a way that's negatively impacting our daily lives. So things like withdrawal. So it's not just that we're kind of pulling back anymore socially, we're staying at home. We're not going out, we're not seeing our friends and family anymore. In terms of work, understandably, if we're not really wanting to leave the house, maybe we're not actually showing up for work. We're increasing our time away from the workplace. And if we are in the workplace, we're essentially being just a body that's there, right? We're not really doing our workload to the extent that we normally do. We're largely just showing up at that point in time. And this is where we'll start to see the addictions, right? The alcohol, drug, gambling, you name it. This is where we'll start to see some of those come into a full addiction, okay? So again, take a note as we're going through here. Take a look at maybe where your behavior is falling in this realm right now. And lastly, we're going to talk about some physical changes that you might see. So if we start on the healthy side, right, people that are coping well with daily life, right, they're generally able to get a good night's sleep. They're feeling well. They're feeling energetic. They're able to, like we talked about, maybe get to the gym, maybe get out. So they're maintaining a stable weight, and they have a good appetite. But if we start to move into this reacting realm, right, where things are maybe a little bit off, right? You have, again, I kind of go back to the bad day at work. So maybe you have a bit of a bad day at work and it's kind of stuck in your head a little bit. Understandably, you might have trouble sleeping that night, right? I know for myself, I'm a bit of a comfort eater. So maybe I go home and I eat more sweets than I normally do. And again, we might see things like a bit of a lack of energy if we're not sleeping super well that night. And we might see a little bit of a weight gain or loss, but nothing big. We're able to kind of scooch right back into that healthy realm with a little self-care, okay? But if we keep going in the other direction and we move into that injured realm, this is where we're going to see it's not just one night of bad sleep anymore. This is where we're starting to see we're more restless. We're starting to have more regular concerns with sleep. Maybe we're starting to consistently eat more or less than we normally do. We're starting to be tired or fatigued. So it's not just one night and you're a bit sleepy the next day. It's kind of something that's starting to stick around, right? You're kind of daily tired or daily fatigued. And we're starting to see a bit of fluctuations in that weight, right? So if we're eating a little bit more or less than we normally do, right, we can see that in our weight itself. And lastly, if we scooch into this illness section, this is where we'll start to see concerns like insomnia, right? We're not able to fall asleep, or if we do fall asleep, we're waking right back up again. And it's not just a one-off, this is something that's sticking around again and again, night after night. We have no appetite, or we're eating way more than normal at this point. And we have that constant fatigue. So it's not just that little bit of tired that's hanging around, we are exhausted almost daily. And because all of these patterns are happening, right, we can see significant changes in our weight on either direction, okay? So again, take a note, take a stock of where your physical changes might be at this point in time, and think about maybe where you fall on this spectrum. So like we just went through, the mental health continuum talks about everything from mood, thinking processes, behaviors, and then physical changes that go along with it. It's not just a kind of one question answers all here. So you might find in different areas you're maybe falling into different categories, and that's okay. What this does is it gives you a really beautiful starting point of where maybe you need to pay more attention to. Maybe this was a little bit eye-opening of, maybe your mood is really good, but maybe we need to make some physical changes, or vice versa. Now, what I want to draw attention to is if we were going through this and you were noting to yourself that maybe you're falling into that ill or injured realm pretty consistently here, this is where I would highly recommend that you're pursuing additional help. Reach out to your family doctor and see what resources might be available to you. Otherwise, or even with that considering, I sincerely hope you continue on this program with us. I can't wait to cover a variety of these topics. We're going to cover a bunch of what we just talked about, changes in mood, how to handle those big emotions, difficulties with thought processes, even some of the physical changes, what to do with things like sleep. We're going to go over all of that together and offer some really helpful coping strategies to help you do better with your day-to-day life right now. Thanks so much, and I look forward to moving forward with you.